Well, hello everyone. Welcome. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Good afternoon. What a great way to spend the afternoon studying Torah and getting inspired with the weekly Parasha. So welcome everyone. David, Murray, Shelley, the faithful await. That's what Shelley says. Okay. So welcome all. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Rabbi Aníbal from Congregation Shaare Zedek. I've been there for 18 years already. And let me tell you, it's a great place. And we are putting together great material for you. We go live sometimes, or sometimes we upload things to our YouTube channel and Facebook channel. But if you want to be notified of everything that we put out there, you have to subscribe. So on YouTube, you should just click there, the subscribe, and then remember the bell, very important, to get all the notifications. And on Facebook, if you are watching on the Shaare Zedek page, you have to subscribe, you have to hit the thumbs up button, the top of the page, so you will be subscribed to the Shaare Zedek page, and you also will be notified of everything that is going on our Facebook page. But you can always also watch from the Shaare Zedek website, www.ezwinnipeg.ca. And yeah, who is here? Phyllis Leibman. Hello, Phyllis. She's watching from Facebook. Also, Judy Sharak watching from Facebook. Hello, Judy. Hello, Phyllis. We should say L'chaim for anniversary. Yeah. Well, the anniversary was in the summer. So I'm going for 19 now. Just moving fast. Moving really fast. And okay, the chat is officially open. As you can see, I can read all the messages that you send my way. By the way, I'm having a new camera today. Hopefully you can see a little better. I think it's super sharp, this camera. It's like a sophisticated piece of hardware. I'm afraid that you can see every single wrinkle on my face. It's a really good lens that I have in front of me. Hello, Terry. She's connecting from Toronto. Hello. Phyllis, how's Ronan? Ronan is good. Yeah, just scared. He didn't have COVID, thank God. So he's back at school today, no more fever, no more symptoms. So he's back to school. Okay, so but Shelly, that's what I did here. No. But I'm so happy that I have a new piece of equipment here in front of me. We are always trying to step up the game. It's all for you guys. We want you to have the best possible experience with everything we do. So that's why I'm trying a new camera, a new microphone that I have. You see, you cannot see the microphone around because this is an overhead microphone that hopefully is working fine. Let's begin. We are going to study Parasha Toldot today, which is, we are still in the book of Genesis. And there is something very interesting about this Parasha because there is, let me show you here. There is this text here that it seems like nothing, but for the rabbis was the start point, or the starting point for a discussion on bar and bat mitzvah. How so? You may ask. Well, this is the interesting thing. This parsha, we are going to study about the birth of Jacob and Esau. Remember, twin brothers, both were the sons of Isaac and Rebecca. So we have this two boys, two cute boys, but eventually the Torah says that they grew up. We don't know when that was. We don't know what age the Torah is talking about. All we know is that they grew up to the point that now it was very clear that they were somehow different. They have different qualities, different characteristics, different traits of character. It says that Esau became one who knows hunting. He became a hunter. But Jacob was a wholesome man abiding in tents. Was a quieter man. Nevertheless, the rabbis explained that by saying abiding in tents, meaning that he became a scholar. So we will see. Let's see what it says. David says that is an odd translation. Okay, Shelley says Ishmael, firstborn. Well, Ishmael is a firstborn of Abraham. We are talking about the next generation now. Okay? So, let's see what the rabbis have to say about this, of the word tam, wholesome man. Yeah, there is a different translation for that. Actually, hard to keep track sometimes. Yes. Okay, so let's see what happened here, because I wanted to present something from the Midrash Rabbah that is going to start this conversation about bar and bat mitzvah. That's one of the main themes for today. How do we have this 13 years of age for boys and 12 for girls, even though in these days, some synagogues, it doesn't matter, they will do it for girls also at 13. But where is this coming from? Let's begin with Midrash Rabbah and let's see what we read there. It says, Rabbi Levi, let me move this a little bit higher. I didn't consider, there you go, I didn't consider the overlay when I did this. Okay, Rabbi Levi said, they, who are they? Jacob and Esau, were like myrtle and a wild rose bush that were growing side by side. When they had grown and blossomed, one gave forth its fragrance and the other gave forth its thorns. Similarly, for the first 13 years, both of the boys went to school and came from school. After 13 years, however, one of them, Jacob, began to go to the house of study, and the other one, Esau, began to go to idolatrous shrines. Said Rabbi Elbaze, a man must be responsible for his son until the age of 13. Thereafter he might say, blessed is he who had absolved me from the responsibility for this one. Some of you may know that in the original Hebrew, Baruch Sheptarani Meonsho Shelazeh. Some synagogues, they still ask the bar mitzvah father to say that in front of the Torah as a celebration for the bar mitzvah. You would say, what? Celebration? That doesn't sound celebratory at all. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that too. But this, even though this is coming from Midrash Rabbah, that phrase, Baruch Sheptarani Meonsho Shelazeh, is still traditional in many circles. Many traditional places, they will still do it. In fact, my shul from Chile, it's a conservative synagogue, they were still doing it on the Thursday morning for the filling ceremony for the bar mitzvah. They would like the parents to say Baruch Sheptarani Meonsho Shelazeh. Question, responsible for one but not the other. What do you mean not the other? Who is the other? Talking to Shelley, by the way. Shelley said the question was responsible for one but not the other. So basically, what Midrash Rabbi said is that up to the age of 13, you couldn't tell much of a difference between one or the other. It looks like in this interpretation, the myrtle and the rose bush, there is a point where you can't really distinguish one from the other, but then when they blossom, it's very clear that they are very different. So this was the same. Jacob and Esau, after the age of 13, they were pretty much the same, two cute boys. But then after the age of 13, according to Midrash Rabbah, it was pretty evident that they were going to be very different, and their fate was going to be very different. But nothing until that age. And from that point, the rabbis got this number 13, this magic number 13, as a time where something happened in the life of a person. Even though, again, this is talking about the boys, nothing about the girls, but this is very common in the language of the rabbis. It's most of the time, and I'm not saying this specific thing, but most of the time remember that Hebrew is being gender specific is a kind of an inconvenient to mention both for male and for female. So many of the things then you can extrapolate from one to the other. So you apply whatever happens to the boy to the girl by analogy. Okay? So that's why we also have the bat mitzvah, also with the bar mitzvah. And so from here, that was the story of Jacob and Esau, but Rabbi Elazar is trying to extract halakha, Jewish law, from that previous midrash. And they will say, okay, that's very important information because it will help us realize that up to the age of 13, parents are responsible for their children, and then they are considered adults, and part of that responsibility now it falls into or over the boys. Rabbi, you will make a wonderful diplomat. I don't think so. Sometimes. At least I can be a diplomat for a few minutes for a class, right? Okay, so this is our starting point. Any comments about this? So the last line, absolved from responsibility of this one. But they were twins, which were a different direction. Oh, no. The phrase, this phrase is not talking about anyone specifically. The Midrash is talking about the bar mitzvah boy in general. It's not talking about Jacob or Esau. It says that from this story we learn that the father has to say to his son, whoever son it is, blesses he who has absolved me from the responsibility for this one. So it's talking about specific bar mitzvahs in the future, not about the past, not about Jacob and Esau. It's not that this phrase was said to them. But I know it even sounds funny, right? The responsibility for this one, Elbaze in Hebrew. It's it sounds really bad. It sounds like, there was nobody checking grammar or anything. It's almost like whoever wrote it didn't even try to sugarcoat it. It was very, absolve me from the responsibility of this one. I have to cope with you for 13 years, boy. Now you're on your own. Ha! Almost kind of like that. So, but let's move on now to analyze some of the rabbinic commentaries about this midrash. Because you can imagine, if we are talking about this, many of the rabbis talked about that in the past. One of them is Rabbi Hanoch Zundel ben Yosef from the 1800s. And he said, a man may be responsible for his son until the age of 13 to rebuke him for any wrong that he does. For until the age of 13, a boy is open to accepting his father's admonitions and correcting his ways. Since it is the father's responsibility to reprimand his son, should he fail to do so, it is he who will be subject to the punishments associated with his son's misdeeds. After the age of 13, a father's rebuke is no longer effective, and a boy's spiritual faculties are sufficiently developed for him to be held responsible for his own misdeeds. So the other source in the Torah that was analyzed by the rabbis to associate that part with the bar bat mitzvah dilemma is the part of the rebellious son. Where they said that if there is a rebellious son, what you have to do is you have to bring it to the gates, to the judges of the city, and to say this son is a rebellious son, and he will be stoned to death, which is crazy, right? But regardless how crazy that is, you have to imagine whose parents will do that, to bring their children to be killed because they don't listen. Sometimes you think about it, but you never dare to do it. But nevertheless, because it says that the son that is a rebellious son, wherever, up to what age? You see, the Torah is not specific, but it's pretty clear that we have to figure out what is the age, what is not considered a rebellious son, and it becomes a responsible adult. So again, by the way of the Midrash and the oral law, the number 13 was introduced to the discussion of that passage from the Torah as well. So the number 13 is related to the text of Esau and Jacob, and also to the text of the rebellious son in the Torah. And even though we need the Midrash or the oral law to justify the number 13, the rabbis understand that we have enough ground in the Torah to say with confidence that number 13 is the age for a bar mitzvah. It's the age when a boy starts behaving more and more like an adult. It's not like he's a fully adult yet, because you will see after the Exodus specifically, when Moses needed to count people to join the army. They didn't count people from the age 13 and up. That was nonsense. And I believe in these days it's the same. 13 is that age when, and actually I'm teaching bar bat mitzvah kids, and you can tell that there are moments that they are adults, and there are other moments that they are babies, right? But 13 is that time where you can start seeing this balance, when the adulthood characteristics start taking over, and that boy or that girl from that age start behaving more and more as an adult from that point on, and less than a little kid, if that makes sense. 13 for the sons in the Pesach Haggadah as well. That's a good question. I don't know, probably. Let's see, Shelley, if you can find one of your articles about this, I will be eager to read it if you can find anything about that. So, number 13, that's how we have it for the bar mitzvah. Now, there are other, this is funny because I try to find other sources trying to come out with the age for bar mitzvah, bar bat mitzvah. And there is another one that is kind of funny, and it's in the Mishnah. Listen to this one. It says, a girl that has grown 2 pubic hairs is obligated in all the mitzvot of the Torah, bat mitzvah. A boy that had grown 2 pubic hairs is obligated in all of the mitzvot of the Torah, bar mitzvah, right? So we have this one, but the funny thing is, this source is not age specific. It's about body changes. In other words, according to the Mishnah, the bar mitzvah should be celebrated whenever the boy or the girl enter into puberty. Why is that? Well, you have to imagine that at that age, when they start growing pubic hair, so they go into puberty, is when people start developing new urges, specifically sexual urges. And being such a strong drive is the moment when we need more than ever a frame of conduct to help us be functional in society, because you can't just give in to every urge you have. That is what kids do. So when you start developing these new urges, then you need more than ever the body of law to help you control that, and you have to be a responsible person to do that. So that's why the Mishnah will say this is a perfect moment to make it clear that that boy or that girl now is responsible for what they do, and they should start taking the law, the halakha, seriously and controlling their urges. That's why it says there. Now, the big problem with that approach is, well, who's going to check that? And then how do you plan it? Because it's something that could happen literally overnight. That's why the rabbis preferred to go with a fixed date over this other source, that it will make it more organic. And in general, you will see many examples in Jewish law when there were more than one opinion and when to do something, the rabbis always preferred to do it in a fixed date. The perfect example is the holiday of Shavuot, for example. That is the holidays of the harvest of the wheat. And we do it 50 days after the second day of Pesach. But funny thing is, that is one opinion. The other opinion was that you start counting whenever you start the harvest, and that's relative. So it will be very difficult to calculate when Shavuot will actually have to be celebrated. So the rabbis preferred to make a decision that it will help them to have a fixed day for Shavuot year after year. So this is the same. That's why the rabbis prefer to take the age 13 for bar mitzvah, so it's easy to calculate when that happened, and you don't have to wait until you have to start checking body parts day after day until you realize that they are 2 pubic hairs, right? But I thought anyway it will be interesting to present this source talking about the age of bar and bat mitzvah. Now, another source that we have, also from the Mishnah, that is bringing the number 12 and 13. It says, the vows of a girl of age 11 years old and 1 day must be examined. It doesn't mean that a girl that is 11 years old cannot make a vow, but whoa, hold on a minute. It has to be examined by who? By her parents. Okay, so if a girl wants to make a vow over herself about something, needs parental approval. The vows of a girl of age 12 years and 1 day are valid. Nevertheless, he will say that the parents can still overrule it, and then if you're gonna be even more controversial, there will be another source saying that eventually the husband can overrule a vow of a girl. That will be for a different class. Okay. Now, in the interim period of the 12th year, her vows might be examined. The vows of a boy of age 12 years and 1 day must be examined. The vows of a boy of age 13 years and 1 day are valid. In the interim period of the 13th year, his vows must be examined. So here is clearly stating that the age 12 and the age 13 was already in the mind of the rabbis, even in the Mishnah. So it's not just the Midrash Rabbah. The rabbis already know this kind of 12 for girls and 13 for boys, which is interesting because they already made the precedent that girls become responsible an year earlier than boys, without giving any reasoning why they are stating that. Doesn't say, but we know that it was in their mind. It was pretty clear. Pretty clear. It's also interesting that it's almost like girls before 12, a year before 12, and boys a year before 13, they're almost like practicing, right? It's that they could do things, they need guidance, but they can still do it. So it reminds me a little bit of the bar bat mitzvah preparation that they take the year before to start trying out different things. How to put on tefillin, how to put on the talit, how to do blessings, etc. That you start practicing. So whenever you are 13 or 12, you are fully prepared to live your Jewish life. Now, it's interesting that it says 12 for the girls and 13 for the boys, right? But you should know this is the Mishnah. Every time we have a Mishnah, then you have the rabbis discussing about the Mishnah. There will be the Gemara. And then you go to the Talmud and you have both. You have the Mishnah, you have the Gemara, the discussion. So you shouldn't be surprised that there is a discussion about these two ages. 12 for girls, 13 for boys. The rabbi said, whoa, let's talk about that, right? Terry, you say approximately when did the age for girls change? When I had my bat decades ago, I was 13. Yeah, that was something in egalitarian synagogues. They decided to do 13 for everybody, but the traditional way is 12 for girls, 13 for boys. If you go to any traditional conservative or Orthodox synagogues, that's exactly the way they do it. 12 for girls, 13 for boys. But let's go back to the text, and when they discuss in the Talmud and the Gemara this Mishnah, listen to this. A rabbis taught, these are the rulings of Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, right? What we just read in the Mishnah. But Rabbi Elazar maintains that the age limits assigned to the girl apply to the boy, when those assigned to the boy apply to the girls. So this rabbi is saying, no, hold on a minute, it should be the opposite. Boys should have the bar mitzvah at age 13, and girls should have the bat mitzvah at age 13. Why is that? Well, give it a minute. Rav Hisda said, what is Rabbi's reasoning? And he said, as the verse states, the Lord fashioned Va'iven, decide. We will talk about that in a minute. This is the creation of Adam and Eve. Okay? On this side. This teaches that the Holy One, blessed be He, endowed the women with more insight, binah, than the man. And what is the reasoning of Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar? Said Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yitzchak, since the boy attends the study house of his teacher, his cleverness develops earlier. Remember, these were times when girls didn't go to school. They had to stay home when this was written. So for this rabbi, it was obvious that boys should have the bar mitzvah at age 12 because they go to school. They get smarter than girls because of attending school, learning Torah, learning Talmud, all that stuff. But what the other rabbi will say, no, it doesn't really matter because women are naturally smarter than men, so they should have the bat mitzvah a year earlier. And what's the reasoning for say that women are smarter than men? Is that when Eve was created, the language used in the Torah seems to imply that she had something that Adam didn't have. What's that? Well, let me bring for you the verse that we are talking about. Genesis chapter 2 verse 22, it says, Va'iven Adonai Elohim et hatzela asher lakach mina Adam leisha va'ive'eha el ahadam. And the Lord God fashioned the rib that he had taken from the man into a woman, and he brought her to the man. But this word that we translate here as fashioned, Va'iven, is coming for the word binah, which means understanding. So it could be, Va'iven could be fashioned, but also the rabbis understand that God used that word to imply that Eve was created with the trait of understanding, of binah, and that word is not used for Adam because Adam, and by analogy, men in general, are not coming to this world with the same level of understanding or binah that women have. It's a very interesting midrash. And Rabbi said because of that, women should celebrate the bat mitzvah a year earlier because of the natural understanding. They are ready for this world before men are. What do you think about that? Chat is so quiet. I thought you would be on fire writing about this. Huh. Especially with so many women watching this class. Come on, don't be shy. Let me see what you think about this. So, very interesting opinion. Shelley, we know that's true. Okay. Now, there is something else that I wanted to talk to you about. And it's also going back to this Baruch Sheptarani. Remember the parents saying, thank you, God, for relieving me from the responsibility of this one, and blah, blah, blah. Remember that the bar or bat mitzvah is a celebration that the boy or the girl are accepting the commandments into their lives. And this is the interesting thing, because it's not that they couldn't do things before. It's not that a boy cannot put on tefillin when they're 10 or 11. Of course they can, but it's not mandatory. But he can do it every day if he wants. Same with a woman. A woman wants to put tefillin when she's 10, every day of her life. She can do it, but it doesn't really count because she's not a bat mitzvah yet. So a question for all of you, and I will give you a minute if you want to type something in the comments first. What do you think is higher? Doing something because you have to do it, or doing something because you want to do it? Before the bar mitzvah, you did things because you wanted to do it. After the bar mitzvah, you will be doing things because you have to do it. So the question is, what is higher? You know what? And that question is very important because we are celebrating the bar mitzvah celebration. We are celebrating the fact that the boy or the girl are going to start fulfilling the mitzvot because they have to, while before they were doing it because they wanted to. So to me, at least in the surface, it's better, or it should be celebrated, the fact that somebody is doing it because they want to do it, not because they have to do it. It's kind of a little of a weird approach. You see, Terry would say, yeah, if you want to do it, that's more elevated. Shelley said, want supersede must do. But I think there is a different point of view. Well, this is actually very interesting. Because my first opinion was exactly the same. That if you do something because you want to do it, that should be celebrated. Why would you celebrate that you're doing something because somebody told you to do it? But that's the way we do it for a bar bat mitzvah. Well, let's bring a little bit of Talmud to bring light on that question. Rabbi Yosef said, formerly, I used to say that if someone will tell me that the law is in accordance with Rabbi Yehuda, who maintains that one who is blind is exempt from the performance of the mitzvot, I will make a feast for the rabbis. Why? Because although I am exempt, being blind, I still fulfill them. Now, however, I have heard the ruling of Rabbi Hanina, who said that greater is the reward of one who performs mitzvot out of obligation than the reward for one who performed them while exempt. Therefore, if someone were to tell me that the law is not in accordance with Rabbi Yehuda, I will make a feast for the rabbis, because if I am obligated in the mitzvot, then my reward will be greater. What do you think about that? I think it's very interesting. Basically, the Talmud is saying here that doing something because you're obligated to do it is higher than to do it because you want to do it. And this is the rationale behind this. And I believe that pretty much became the kind of Judaism that most people will observe in these days, that never mind the bar bat mitzvah, people still do whatever they want to do. Why is that? Because we became used to not doing whatever we don't feel like doing. Even though we know it's part of Jewish body of law, we don't like it, we don't understand it, whatever the reason is. We just don't do it. We don't fulfill it. So basically, by saying that somebody is fulfilling all the laws of the Torah, even though they don't understand them, even though sometimes they feel that they make no sense, the rabbis said that should be celebrated. The fact that you are making a commitment in front of a congregation that from now on you're going to fulfill all the commandments, even though you don't like some of them or you don't understand some of them. And that's the sense of the bar mitzvah, and that's why we have a celebration. Because there is somebody here in front of a congregation that what is saying is, I trust God so much that I'm willing to take this step of faith of embracing the whole body of Jewish law and to make a commitment to it from now on. I know that before I fulfilled some of the commandments because I wanted to. Now I'm going to fulfill all of the commandments because I have to. Because God asked me to do it, and I'm going to do it. And that's basically what we are celebrating after bar or bat mitzvah. Make sense? Looking at the chat. Now, the main way to celebrate a bar or bat mitzvah, at least among Ashkenazim, is the meal, the food that we serve after the bar bat mitzvah in these days is like a law, something that is expected, something that we're supposed to do. And the rabbis say that the meal after a bar bat mitzvah is considered a seudat mitzvah. It's like a mandatory meal that you have to serve after the bar or bat mitzvah. It doesn't say that you have to have a band or a DJ. No, what it says that it's the tradition or the law in this case is to serve food after, which is in these days is pretty much the kiddush that we have after the ceremony in the synagogue. So it's coming. Let me give you an opinion here. The bar mitzvah meal in vogue among the Ashkenazim appears to be a seudat mitzvah, a mitzvah meal in the highest degree, and its name is indicative of this. They rejoice and express praise and gratitude to God, who merited the boy to become bar mitzvah, for one who is obligated in the mitzvot is greater. The father has merited to raise the boy thus far, to initiate him into the covenant of the Torah in its entirety. So a question for you. Let's see if you were paying attention to what I just read. Who is celebrating here? Type it into the chat. I want to see your opinion. Who is celebrating? Ha ha, Terry, you got it right. The parents. The parents is so. In other words, the party after the bar mitzvah ceremony is not to celebrate the boy or the girl. It's to celebrate the parents for bringing that boy or that girl into that moment. That's something that I don't think the kids get it in these days. They feel that it's their party, when in reality it's their parents' party. They are celebrating themselves for bringing that boy or that girl into that moment of their lives. Somebody should talk with the kids about that. But I do it actually when I teach them. But it's yeah. Shelley, you said the parents of the bride or the groom. Well, marriage is different. It's different. Bride and groom are actually celebrating themselves. It's all for them. But this is basically a 13 years process that gets some kind of closure with the ceremony of bar bat mitzvah. So we celebrate the parents of that boy or that girl for reaching that milestone. I think it's very interesting, and I'm pretty sure that some of the kids will disagree with that. What can I do? Nothing I can do about that. I can talk to them, but talk to the parents. The kids feel that they're in control. Okay, any questions about this? Otherwise, I want to move to another verse, so I'm going to switch a little bit of topic. So I will give you 1 or 2 minutes to see if you want to add anything. None? Let's move on to the next one. This is at the beginning of the Parasha. That's why the Parasha is called Toldot. Because it starts Ve'ele Toldot Yitzchak. And these are the offspring of Isaac, son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac. Okay? And there is something very interesting here that the rabbis notice in the wording of this verse. The verse's concluding words, Abraham begot Isaac, appears to be redundant, for the verse already stated that Isaac was the son of Abraham. So why the repetition? Any idea? Why the repetition? Well, there are a couple of interpretations that I learned about this. One of these is the traditional one. Actually, I think it's the first one that I learned about this. Yeah, Shelley, you said proof that he was the father. Why do we need proof that he was a father? Well, Rashi says the cynics of that generation had been saying that Sarah might have become pregnant by Abimelech. Remember, she has to fake that she was the sister of Abraham. So maybe something really happened, and Abraham is not really the biological father of Isaac. Okay? So since she and Abraham had been married for many decades without a child, but she had given birth only after being taken by the Philistine king. Therefore, God made Isaac features so undeniably similar to Abraham's that even the scoffers had to admit that it was indeed Abraham who begot Isaac. Okay, so this is the traditional interpretation of this. Is those added words were to be absolutely clear that Abraham was the biological father of Isaac. But there is another interpretation that it goes. Shelley said. Terry said because of Abraham's age, not so much of the age, because remember that he was able to have a child with Hagar. So it looks like there was nothing wrong with Abraham. So it also it always, when the story is presented, it looks like there is something wrong with Sarah, that she was the one who couldn't have any children. So that's why it doesn't make any sense to say that, Abimelech was able to make her pregnant, but Abraham wasn't. Because Abraham was able to have children with other women, but not with Sarah. So just to make it absolutely clear, according to Rashi, the Torah had to say that specifically, that Abraham was the biological father of Isaac. End of the story. Let's move on, right? And Shelley said, because we always know who the mother is. Yeah. The man's age has zip to do with it. Okay, we'll even go there. Okay, let's continue, because there is another interpretation of that verse that it gets away a little bit from that kind of discussion if it's a biological father or not, because it's interesting to have that discussion, but there is nothing there for us. There is no teaching that we can apply to our everyday life. And you know that I always like to present you with interpretation of the verses that will have some kind of teaching that you can use in your own life. So that's why I would like to present a second opinion on how to understand that verse. And we are going to Midrash Rabbah. And Midrash Rabbah starts saying or presenting this verse from the book of Proverbs. So Scripture states, Gil yagil abit tzadik veyolet chacham ismach bo. The father of the righteous will greatly rejoice. In Hebrew, Gil Yagil. You can hear the repetition, right? It's written twice. And he that begets a wise child will find happiness in him. So far, so good? So the Midrash says, the double expression, Gil Yagil, teaches that there is a double joy when a righteous person is born to a righteous parent. What an amazing thing, because here what Midrash Rabbah is saying is that this verse from Proverbs, Gil Yagil Avit Tzadik, the father of the righteous will greatly rejoice, is related to the opening verse of Parasha Toldot. In fact, that's where I got it from. If you go to Midrash Rabbah, this text is presented from Parasha Toldot, Gil Yagil. So this is why this is important to know. Upon informing us that Isaac was Abraham's son, The verse repeats the fact that Abraham begot Isaac in order to emphasize that this was no ordinary joy, but rather the double joy of one righteous person, Abraham, fathering yet another righteous person, Isaac. And the rabbi said that that's the best possible situation. The real joy, the real family joy, is when you have righteous father or righteous parents who raise righteous children. It's beautiful when that happened. That's a real blessing. Because sometimes, yes, you have parents that they are not so righteous, right? And you know that they are crooked people, not nice people, and nevertheless, all surprised, the children are wonderful people. And it's great, good for them, but there is something missing. And then you have the opposite. You have righteous parents, good people, and then unfortunately you see that the next generation doesn't really follow into the parents' path. And that is sad to see. So basically what it's saying here is how wonderful it is when we have a situation where both parents and children are both righteous in their own merits. And this is the case with Abraham and Isaac. So listen to this one. Let's continue with the next text. Also from the Midrash Rabbah, they will bring another verse from the book of Proverbs, where it says, "Children," it says, "Ateret zekenim b'nei vanim, v'tiferet banim avotam." Children's children are the crown of elders, and the glory of children are their fathers. It emerges from this verse that the fathers are the crown of their children and their children are the crown of their fathers. That the fathers are the crown of their children is derived from that which it states, and the glory of children are their fathers. Thus, our verse begins by stating, "And these are the offspring of Isaac, son of Abraham," in order to highlight the fact that Isaac's glory was that he was the son of a righteous father, Abraham. That the children are the crown of their fathers is derived from that which is written, "Children's children are the crown of their fathers." This accounts for the apparently redundant statement in our verse, "Abraham begot Isaac," for this clause highlights the fact that it was his righteous son Isaac who was Abraham's glory. Right? It is true for parents when they see the children and they are such a good kids, the naches, what do we say, the naches of the parents, but also the pride of their children when they look at such important and great parents. Yeah, who's your father? Who's your mother? Yeah, but it has to be. It's a tricky situation. You see. Let's continue with this. It says, "Distinguished lineage is not small virtue, but lineage is of value only if it's mutual. We have a right to take pride in our lineage only." It's not of, it's if. "If we conduct ourselves in such a way that the ancestors will be proud of us." This could be illustrated with the following parable. Two people were engaged in a hated dispute. One was a meyuchas. You know what a meyuchas is? Have you ever heard the word ichus? It's a lineage in that we say in Hebrew. The ichus. Ichus is that person, such an ichus that his father was a rabbi, grandfather was a rabbi, great grandfather was a rabbi. So that's the ichus. So meyuchas is somebody with very important people in the previous generation of his life. Okay, so one was a meyuchas, the descendant of great people. The other was an ordinary layman. The meyuchas declared indignantly, "You dare to dispute me? Don't you know who my father was, and my grandfather, and great-grandfathers throughout the generations?" His opponent parried his thrust, saying, "True, you are the heir of nobility, but your family's lineage lineage ended with you. My lineage will begin with me. Thus, Moses is told at the beginning of Numbers 1:4 that in counting the nation, he shall be joined by people who are Rosh Lebeit Avotav, the heads of their extended families. Homiletically, this means that those people were the heads, the beginning of distinguished family lines. Hi, Rocky. Hello. Yeah, you can. The classes. By the way, for those of you who are there, the classes always stay online after the class is over, so you can always go back. We have a playlist on YouTube that you can go. The playlist is called Torah L'Chaim. You can go and play all the previous classes that you can search by Parasha, by theme, and so forth. So yeah. So that's what I said. It's important. The two sides. You see, our verse seeks to emphasize that the finest expression of lineage is reciprocal. The offspring are exalted by the ancestry and the ancestors by the progeny. Thus, after identifying Isaac as the son of Abraham, Scriptures notes that this proud heritage was deservedly borne by Isaac, for Abraham just as proudly identified himself as the father who begot Isaac, since they were both remarkably similar in their righteousness and holiness, and in the radiance they spread on their surroundings. Okay, so it's very interesting. Yeah, it's terrible, when people, and I don't know if you ever met this kind of people before, that they argue, yeah, you know who my father is, but you can tell that those people are, the person who said that, you know who my father is, you know that they are wrong, you know that they're arrogant and bad people, and sometimes parents of people like that, they're absolutely embarrassed by the behavior of their children. So saying like that, you know who my father is, you're not doing yourself or your parents any favors. It's all the opposite. It's all the opposite. It brings lots of pain to parents to see the children using that kind of expression. And I have one more text for you today. It says, I see the verse as indicating the merits each one can enjoy from the righteous behavior of the other. This is why King Solomon described the children or grandchildren as the crown of their fathers, while describing the fathers only as the glory of their children, which implies a less significant benefit than the former. The Talmud teaches that a father can be aided and saved by the merits of his sons, and not vice versa. That is, a father is given significant credit for searing and raising a righteous son, so much so that even a lifelong idolater like Terach could merit a share in the world to come for having a son like Abraham. Interesting midrash. Thus, the son is the father's crown. By contrast, a wayward son benefits not at all from having a righteous father. If anything, he stands to be embarrassed and hurt by this fact, since he cannot blame his faulty behavior on a weak background. If a son does follow in his father's righteous paths, he can take pride and glory in being identified together with his father and forming one continuous line of righteousness. Yeah. What do you say, Terry? It annoys me when I'm asked if I'm related to the ex-president's son-in-law. I reply by saying that nobody in our family has been to jail. Okay. That's interesting. But I'm wondering, Rocky, you as a judge, if you ever had this situation where somebody tried to argue, that all the some kind of lineage, and sometimes you realize that it's all the opposite, right? Because if you're coming from a distinguished family, so it's a double shame of you that you committed a crime. Sometimes there are even some mitigating circumstances if your surroundings, if your upbringings were harsh and tough. But if you're coming from a good family and you are misbehaving, how dare you use your parents' name to try to get out of trouble? It should be the opposite. Okay, any questions about this? That was the last text that I had to present you, guys. So, once again, it's 1 o'clock. It was great to have you there. Yeah, it's not so easy to spot that. Yeah, I bet it is. Yeah. Thank you, Rocky. Okay, so thank you again, all of you, for being there. And remember, if you haven't subscribed, you know what you have to do. Click that button, subscribe, and then beep, right there. And on Facebook, if you haven't subscribed to Share Zedek page, the same. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the page so you will be notified every time we go live, every time we upload something to our channel, so you will never miss any of our content. Thank you again. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Don't do anything crazy. Follow all the recommendations from the province so we can beat COVID-19 as soon as possible and we can move on to kind of normal life again pretty soon. Thank you again. Have a wonderful day. See you soon. Bye.